Thank you.
Item 6.3, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works met in April, and on a number of the items on the agenda are on tonight's council meeting agenda. Will be discussed in detail. Also discussed at the April 23rd meeting was the expenditure status of the Municipal Operations Center contract. Along with that, we got updated on any additional charges that we might have had, and then we actually set a new meeting for May 14th to happen right before the Finance Committee so we could review those expenditures again. That item is also on tonight's agenda. That came out of that meeting. We had general discussion on the public sidewalk policy guidelines, and that will be a future discussion also with the Public Works. Our next meeting is next Tuesday at 5:30 right here, and as always, the public is welcome to attend.
Thank you. Item 6.4, Delavan Lake Committee, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Lake Committee met on Wednesday, May 1st. There are a lot of dam complaints this year for high waters and lake levels, and a lot of the creeks around here are overflowing. There are also many complaints and letters to the board members to borrow more money to manage these sediment ponds that they have that they've had problems with for the last 3 years. Their weed harvesters have been serviced and are now in operation so far in May. The sanitary district is seeking about 15 different grants and aids for this summer's work on the lake. We had a talk from Ray Carlson from Lakes and Ponds, who spoke on the usage of pellets, which they've been doing now for I think the last 7 or 8 years. They're starting to have good luck with those pellets in cleaning up a lot of the areas of the lake, but they still got an awful lot of work to do. The pellet applications this year started in Browns Channel, and the testing will be done in the boat launch area and the cove over area by the boat launch. All the areas, like I stated before, that are using the pellets are starting to clean up a little bit. There's a problem with the bluegill boat launch. The start of the fishing season, they always have problems with people using that boat launch. A lot of the local neighbors are not happy with it. There's also some problems and complaints in the condition of the gravel and the potholes at the town of Delavan Community Park. They're going to start working on those fairly soon, and they're also going to be doing some pond dredging this year, and they're also looking at, in the pond dredging, they're looking at borrowing more money to either start doing the pond dredging by themselves or to job it out to, as they have been doing in the past. If anyone would be interested in attending our meetings are on the first Wednesday of every month.
Item 6.5, Library Board of Trustees, Mr. Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Library Committee met April 25th. The circulation policy was updated to reflect the juvenile policies that were updated, policies concerning the database, loan periods, non-traditional items, and overdue charges policies. Strategic initiatives are being looked at for updating. The board reviewed the current initiatives. There was discussion regarding reducing the amount of initiatives to be more focused, and input was given on those possible changes. A request was made by Tom Litkey to use a piece of art that's currently in the library in his upcoming book, and the library is going to get recognition for that in his book. And the Friends will be assisting with registration for summer reading program on June 7th. That'll be in Veterans Park from 3 to 6. We did hold interviews on Wednesday, May 15th, for a company that would be assisting the library with a feasibility study to research the likelihood of the library raising $4 million in donations for an expansion project. 3 companies were interviewed, and more discussion surrounding that will happen at the next committee meeting, which is
Item 6.6, Park and Recreation Commission, Ms. Deschler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did not meet in April, but we did just meet this last Monday on the 20th. We talked about the Phoenix Park Playground, which you probably noticed is at this point demolished and rebuilt. That should be finished by Memorial Day, so pretty soon. Yaden Park resurfacing options are still being looked into. The summer program guide came out a bit late this year. That was because we were waiting on summer school options to be released from the school district. We didn't want to overlap with the programs that were going on there. So next year we're hoping to work better to plan with the school district so that guide can be released earlier. Alderman Henriette, you might have noticed that the sign for the Arboretum was gone. Well, he is painting it for us. So thank you. We look forward to seeing that redone. Cinco de Mayo was a huge success. They estimated over 1,500 people at that event in attendance, and we had a good weekend for it. Several different consulting firms have been contracted to begin plans for improvements at Tower Park for 2020. Plans will be submitted by June 5th and will be reviewed at that time. And new locations are being considered for the community garden for next year because this is our last year at our current location. So we will be meeting again on June 24th at 5:30 right here if anybody wants to join us.
Thank you. Item 6.7, Communications Commission, Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Communications Commission had an opportunity to meet last night here at City Hall. That was our first meeting in a little while. It's sometimes if there's one person that has a conflict, then we can't have a quorum, so we've run into that a couple different times over the last few months. And we are still looking for 2 individuals that may be interested in serving on this commission. And if you are interested, please let the mayor know, the city administrator, or one of us on the city council, and we can pass that interest along. Having said that, on the agenda, we talked about the commissioners that were there. They got acclimated with the new electronic agenda software that all of us are still getting a little bit used to up here, so that was nice for them to kind of use that, and I think all of them seem to enjoy it, and certainly recognize that it modernizes quite a bit and saves on the paper, which was the intent. Also talked about the status of the cable TV broadcasts for the city. We are currently using the website a lot, which is good. That doesn't cost us anything. We're also recently using YouTube, which allows us to comply better with the ADA requirements. They will, as I understand it, for free of charge, help us out with the translation of all those meetings, and again, keep us in compliance with ADA requirements. We'll still, as we get some other individuals, in particular, hopefully someone from the school district to join us, can explore potentially things with the broadcast channel. Although, as I understand it, federally there may be some changes where right now it's free and has been free, but that may change. So that's something to consider, and this commission will consider in the future. Also, just talked about better ways to improve communications, recognizing that as much as we're using Facebook and the website, there's other means of social media, Twitter, other forms of Instagram and other things that I'm not on. So but it is things that the next generation of future leaders and young people right now are using. So in order to better communicate and let them know as well what's going on, we want to use all forms of mediums possible to us. So we'll continue to explore those options. Also, in the future, we're going to be looking to update the website, because obviously it is a very powerful tool to attract in a number of different ways people that are looking to, whether it's events, whether it's development, whether it's business, all residential, schools. So in the next few months, we'll be looking to update the website, take some proposals potentially for work on that. And also, we talked about reviewing the Communications Commission section of the municipal code as far as who serves on the commission, and trying, so staff will have for our our next meeting will be on Monday, August 26th here at City Hall. So those meetings are open to anyone in the public, and we welcome your attendance. And again, if anyone's interested in particularly serving on that, there are a couple of seats open. Thanks.
Thank you. Item 6.8, Delavan Downtown Project Management Team, Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Delavan Downtown Project Management Team met here at City Hall on April 23rd. We had a number of things on our agenda. As always, we talked about storefront marketing. Obviously, if you haven't had a chance to check out Jonathan's on the Brick Street, it is a wonderful place. I personally, my family, friends have been there a number of times already. I know Alderman Stevens, I saw him and his lovely wife out, and I'm sure many others have already had a chance to stop in there. But everything that I've heard on, out and about in the community, I'm sure others can attest to this. There's been rave reviews about it. So it's a great addition to the downtown, and wish them the best, and as much as we possibly can here locally, and also just as important, getting the word out to people outside the community to come and visit historic downtown Delavan and try this new restaurant out, as well as visit our other businesses there. Is going to be a great asset, I think, to the city. So we wish them a lot of luck. Also, on that note, we also talked about events. We've got this definitely getting to be a busy time for events. Memorial Day weekend, starting Saturday, May 25th, will be the 13th season of the Phoenix Park Band Shell Concert. So they've got another great lineup for us this year. Many of us, if not all of us here, have attended those, and it's something that I'm sure, again, all of you have heard, as well as I have, from people that a community our size and like us, it's just a wonderful asset that we have in the city, and to be able to offer it for free is amazing. So it's another attraction that would bring people to Delavan, so we wish them a lot of luck on their upcoming season. Also, if you haven't heard about it, we're having another downtown Delavan Wine Walk that will take place on May 30th, and tickets in advance are $25. At the day of the event, they're $30, and that event will run from 4:30 to 8:30. Again, May 30th. So, if you participated in the one that we had in the last fall, or if you didn't, I'm sure you heard about it, and it was a well-attended event, and again, something that was new, that brought a lot of locals out, that we heard great feedback from, as well as people from outside of our community that had a great time as well. So stay tuned for more information. And again, if you haven't gotten your tickets in advance, save a little money and do that. Also, let's see, we also talked about the parks and Tower Park as well. And that will continue to be something that we, as Park and Recs move forward on that, will be weighing in on it as well. And let's see. I guess that just covers it all. And our next meeting, it's not for sure yet, but it's because of the holidays. We normally would meet at the end of May, but because of the holidays, we wanted to stay away from that and combine the May and the June meeting. So we're looking at June 11th, potentially. So those meetings are open to the public. As I've often mentioned, if anyone's interested in volunteering or coming to the meetings, especially volunteering, we're always looking for people to help with events. And speaking of that, I almost forgot, Brick Street Days, June 22nd. So there's a lot, as I said, going on in the month of June. Also Fresh Markets, June 6th. So again, lots going on, lots of good things, and they're happening right in historic downtown. So help us spread the word, come to a meeting, help volunteer, and help us make these successful. Thanks.
Thank you. Did I hear that you're volunteering to pour the wine?
I am. I heard you were too.
Yeah, that too. Any other aldermen want to volunteer? Just say.
My wife is going to partake, and I think we have another
I'm
alder.
gonna partake.
You're partaking, so you got it.
So So I encourage you all to walk downtown and enjoy the evening.
19 different locations?
17.
17. Oh, 17. And then about 35, 34 wines, different wines, so.
Around, yes, 30,
So-
4, 5, 35.
Great.
Cool, thank you. Item 6.9, Delbert Golf Commission. We met last Thursday on the 16th, and I'll just say this right away, you're always welcome to come to our meetings, because usually we have roughly about 0 people that usually show up, maybe 1 or 2 at best. But anyways, I'll just give a little rundown of what we've been discussing the last several months since we received that donation from the Nelson family as to where we're going to go this year and obviously the following years with this $1.7 million that was donated. Just name off a number of things that we're going to be approaching this year and trying to tackle is the paving of the cart paths. Originally, we thought, well, we'd do some this year and the next year and the following year, but with this donation, depending on the contractor that gets awarded, we'd like to have it all done in 1 year, which would be later in August or September timeframe. So you'll see a big change, at least for next year's golfing, if not toward the end of this year season. But also in regards to that, on hole 9 south, that's along County O Road, one of our signature holes, we have a drainage problem with a lot of rain. You'll see puddles out there, and then you have to kind of close that portion of the 9, or we definitely have to either walk it or not play on it. So this should alleviate that. We also talked about and want to get this achieved this year is placing a memorial by the first tee of the middle course for the Nelson family. Putting Dan, how do you call that? A bench wall, and have a plaque or some memoriam to thank the family for that. So that's in the works. Renovations in the clubhouse. If you've ever been in any of those bathrooms, you'll know that that definitely needs to be done, and other parts of the building as well. We talked about, it probably wouldn't be this year, but planning for next year is a barrier netting for the driving range, and also a potential redesign of the chipping area that's right next to it, old number 7, if you remember the old golf course part, that will certainly add, I would think, more people to be involved in the golf course, just other entities or things that other courses have that we really don't have the best of. But anyways, then the other thing that won't be this year, but certainly for more likely next year, is having an aerator and fountains on hole number 9 south as well. Remember, we used to have the big floating air, water, so which would enhance the course as well. So we're going to focus on 2 or 3 of these projects, the ones I mentioned earlier, and then we'll attack the next area of needs. Now, I just want to give a little bit of highlight of, since the beginning of this year, play for April was up 19% compared to last year of 2018. Unfortunately, we lost 4 days of the month due to poor weather, and this stretch included last week into this month. As you know, if you're a golfer, whether you're not a golfer, we've had a lot of rain. It's been no fun. An additional 2 3/4 inches of rain have also fallen through May 12th of this year. And of the 25 days the course was open for play in April, carts were allowed for only 15 times. Compared to 2018, carts were allowed for only 10 of the so we've improved, but it still hurts all the way around. On May 4th, we had the Connie Schulte Memorial Golf Outing. We had 113 golfers. It was a fun day. I don't know how much we made, or how much the outing made, but I think they did pretty well. Now, the upcoming outings for June is the Scott Dewar Memorial Outing. There's estimated about 140 to 150 golfers for that event. They're a new, it's a new outing, and so that's a boost for Delbrook, so hopefully good weather for that. And then on June 8th is the Boys and Girls Club Golf Outing, and we anticipate 80 to 90 golfers for that, and so hope for good weather for that as well. So we also received the new computer for the irrigation system that was delivered. I'm assuming that's been installed by now, or not? Nope, not yet. Okay. So anyways, that's the gist of it. Just a future reference, the annual Friends of Delbrook Golf Outing is scheduled for September 28th, which is another good outing that raises funds for the improvements of Delbrook. So again, you're always welcome to attend. Our next meeting is June 20th, Thursday night at 6:30. So I look forward to seeing all of you there at that time. Thank you. Let's move on to item 610, Tourism Commission. Mr. Herbert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tourism has not met for the past 2 months. Our next meeting will be June 10th at 7:30 in the morning. Denise will have coffee ready. You're all welcome.
Thank you. Item 611, Delavan Darien School District. Ms. Sorby.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I missed last month. A lot has been busy, so we are cooking. So I've got quite a few things, but I'm going to skim over some of them and highlight some of the others that I think are very important for the community to understand. I'm going to start off with some financial things because I think that that's always very impactful for our community to understand where we're at financially, and I think that we've made a lot of progress this year. So I want to start off by saying that we have already done a lot to turn around open enrollment out for the district. Last year we budgeted based on, and this is a very complicated thing, so I'm just going to skim over some of it, and if any of you have questions, please call me. Be happy to go into it more detail. But basically, the way the government has set up open enrollment, families can sign up to choose a district of their choice, and the school district of residency is this district that must pay that other district to educate that child, to the tune of $7,500 for each child that's a gen ed, and up to $11,000 this current year. Next year it's shifting to $31,000 for special ed children, or up to $31,000 cost for special ed. So we have been doing a lot to try to really change that in our market of who we are keeping and who we lose for students. We don't want to lose students to another community, but you know, people have choices now based on the legislative law that was passed in 2010. So we have been doing a lot to turn that around. Particularly, we had over 80 students fall off in our open enrollment out, having us have a huge fiscal, we budgeted for those 80 students, and then come the school year, they ended up staying with us, which was, and or moving off of our open enrollment out. So in other words, they say they're going to another district, but then they end up leaving the community and moving to that community. So they have a planned move, or they're building a home in that community, and that impacts the district's budget. Long story short here, because of that, we ended up having a budget windfall for just this school year, allowing us to pay off our state trust fund loan of $650,000. Our state trust fund loan was taken out in 2016 by my predecessor, Dr. Christ, and that was a $995,000 trust fund loan that he took out in 2016, and we paid it off 7 years early. The 7 years early allows the district to save $120,000 a year in interest and premium payments. So that is a substantial savings for us in the upcoming budgets, which is a good thing because that allows for us to actually move the money towards educating children. Again, the state trust fund loan was taken out in 3 years, 2016, and we've been able to pay it off early. The other thing that we've been doing for searching for revenues, I think it's important for us to not just try to say how do we cut our expenses, but also search for ways to earn money for the district, and we've done that. Our new special ed pupil services director filed for the first time ever in the district high cost, which is basically for students that their needs are greater than just an average student and they cost more to educate, and so we filed high cost. We just received that from the state of about $125,000 coming into as a revenue. In addition to that, I personally reached out to DPI, Department of Public Instruction, to ask for a discretionary grant. You may or may not know this, but some of the students from the Wisconsin School for the Deaf come over to our district to get services. However, when those students come over for part of a day, we do not get any revenue from the state. They don't get counted in our head count. We get zero funds for them. I jumped up and down this summer and said, we can't do this. We don't have the money to continue to supply American Sign Language teachers for these students when we get zero revenue from the state for those students that come over. Barb, I'm going to miss her name, Michlio, she's now the assistant superintendent for education at DPI, and she gave us a $100,000 discretionary grant for last year and for this upcoming year to help offset the cost for those American Sign Language interpreters needed for those students that come over from WSD. And again, in the past, those costs were a burden, for a better way of saying it, to the taxpayers of this community because we don't get state funding or local funding for those students because they don't get counted in our pupil count, okay? So that's another cost that we, or revenue that we were able to acquire. The next one is we filed for several grants accumulating about $50,000 to $75,000 of revenues that we haven't received in the past. So in total, we got about $400,000 of revenues that we've never seen in the past. In addition, a new thing that's just informed the board last meeting was I went to Dousman, our bus transportation company, and said, I think we have too many buses for how many students we have now enrolled in the district. We have been, like many other schools in the area, shrinking. Birth rate is down. So overall, every district in the area has been seeing a decline in their population in their schools. This is why open enrollment is such a pivotal thing that's happening from one district to another, because everybody's trying to say, hey, I want to have your kids come to my district so their enrollment, declining enrollment slows down. We're doing the same thing at this point now, trying to do a better job at marketing ourselves and celebrating all of our successes. But in general, I went to Dousman and said, we're paying too much. We have not enough kids on a bus. They cut our runs, saving next year $111,000 by saving 2 bus runs. Again, it's all of these little pieces that we continue to do because they have zero impact on our students, and it allows for us to put money towards things that really do positively impact our students' success. So I want to share that with the community because I think that being fiscally responsible is not just about paying our debt, which I know our community members appreciate, not having debt for us, but also searching for revenue. So we are continuing to do that. Anthony Klein, our business manager, and myself, and Pupil Services Director Mary Burke continue to do those things. So as far as our student successes and teacher successes, I've got a few things to brag about as well, because I have not seen you all for a while. One is we are officially renting Wileman Elementary for next year. They will serve as a daycare. We are renting it to Kristen and Mark Marcio. They are a well-established daycare facility that has 3 other community daycares, one in Elkhorn, one in Waterford, and one in Trever, Salem. They will be bringing in a daycare renting 45% of Wileman at a cost of $66,000 annually that the district will take in as a revenue in addition to that. So that's a nice little source of revenue as well, instead of having an open building. We are also offering full day 4K. We felt like this is a way for us to maybe open up ourselves in the market of 4-year-old kindergarten, to have families understand that they don't have to pay for that wraparound care, and instead we will continue to educate them. But also the other piece, more importantly, is how to get our kids a jump start. Because our district is 65% poverty, we know that kids from poverty don't come with the reading ability that others do when they come from a home where people are highly educated. So instead, we're starting to say, how do we start them at 4K where they understand play and they understand how to open up a book and that letters actually make words. So we will start full day 4K next year. We have, Phoenix Middle School has been announced and got celebrated on Monday at the state capitol as a, what was the correct term here? I want to make sure I use the right word here. Title I School of Recognition for beating the odds. Again, we are a high district of high poverty, and with that high poverty comes many challenges. And so they were awarded, there was only about 30 schools in the whole state that were awarded this for Title I beating the odds, and Phoenix Middle School received that award on Monday at the state capitol. So some other things that I think are important, we also received the Best Community for Music Education. This is the 6th year in a row that we've been given this national recognition for our music programs at, starting in really the elementary grades, but specifically our kids at 4th grade and all the way through high school learn how to play a string instrument or violin. So that's a point of accomplishment for us as well. We hosted a forensic meet, which was a huge success at Turtle Creek, our elementary school, where we had over 400 students come in to learn how to do public speaking, which, as you all know, is very important in life. And then my last little point, no, I've got two more. My second to last is that our community learning, CLC, our after-school program, I can't remember, 21st Century Community Learning something, I can't remember the last C. Anyways, they are partnering with NASA next year and going to offer our 3rd and 4th graders an opportunity to study. It's called the NASA STEM Challenge Project, and the students will be working on unique STEM challenges based on real mission data and experiences working partnership with NASA, which I think is fantastic for our 3rd and 4th graders. And then this summer, our high school students, we have 4 of them that qualified for nationals. It's a competition called Skills USA. It's for our career and technical education programs, and those 4 students will go down to Kentucky to be part of that competition, and we are quite proud of their opportunities. One was in medical terminology competition, and the other ones were in the additive manufacturing technology competition, and they will get on their red blazers and take charge and lead the way, and be very proud for us to see how they perform in that upcoming national competition. So overall, we're financially turning things around. We have students coming back, and we have enrollment turning around, and we have a lot of things to be proud of as far as competition and winning programs. So I'm quite proud of our staff. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's move under item of finance, 7.1. Consider a resolution adopting the proposed assessments for the construction of concrete sidewalk on both sides of East Geneva Street from 6th Street to 7th Street.
Mr. Mayor, this is on the table. Actually, I'd like to leave it on the table. And there was discussion at our last council meeting, and it went to Public Works, and you see there was some discussion on that at that committee level. And
If I can, Bruce, I'm sorry. We apologize. It ended up going to Public Works, and they do have a recommendation. I just want to make sure that you are aware that it was supposed to be on the finance too, and it did not make it on the finance, but because of being somewhat time sensitive, we did put it on the agenda. So I don't know if that changes your recommendation, but I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that.
I understand it's time sensitive, and I was pointing out the fact that Public Works did discuss it and change some of those things. I didn't want to discuss it too much because it's really on the table. But I would like to go to GOC first, see if we do a policy change, and then write the finance and back for a final decision in July from the council. Does that create a problem for us for the street work? Be close?
Not for the street work, no. It might for the sidewalk, but not for the street work.
Nevertheless, we still have to go along that time frame. Unless you want to have a special meeting. I mean,
Well, we could always call for a special meeting if we need to, instead of waiting until July.
I mean, we have our June meetings.
oh, I'm I said July, I meant June.
Okay, that's-
I'm sorry. This is bad. I meant June meeting.
Yeah,
We'll go to
well, I
finance,
think
GOC in June.
That would be okay.
Finance in
yeah,
June
yeah.
and council
So
in
we'll
June.
put it onto GOC and, okay.
Was I pushing summer along a little fast there?
It
Yeah,
goes fast
slow
enough.
down a little bit.
What summer?
Yeah. All right, so, Gary.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add that we did put that on our agenda at Public Works for next Tuesday also. So we will be discussing that, may or may not have a recommendation to GOC. So, we'll see.
All right, so we will keep this tape. All right, item 7.2, consider purchase of a Jacobson Tournament XL 7000 ultra-wide greens roller from Burris Equipment of Waukegan, Illinois, at a cost not to exceed $17,626.
Mr. Mayor, this came from finance, of course, it came from the golf committee, and this is money being used from the Nelson grant. I just want, and this is a piece of equipment, so there was some concerns raised by the committee about the use of the funds for operating equipment. But after a long discussion, and with Dan's help, we feel that the longevity of the equipment and the long-term benefits of the golf course makes it a feasible purchase from the Nelson grant. So I would move to approve the purchase of the Jacobson Tournament XL 7000 ultra-wide greens roller from Burris Equipment out of Waukegan, Illinois, at a cost not to exceed $17,626, utilizing funds from the Nelsons for the purchase.
I'll second.
There's been a motion, a second. Any discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stedman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.3, consider change order to the contract with Gilbank Construction for the Municipal Operations Center to provide for the installation of the fixed beams for the overhead hoist system at a cost of $31,120, and the acknowledgement and approval of other changes to the contract authorized to date totaling $91,480.
Mr. Mayor, this came from finance, of course, came through Public Works to finance. And this project was originally removed from the bid because of costs. And but in the contract was $250,000 contingency for possibly soil conditions or other things that may come up. But with the ground being laid and some of the sides already going up, the cost overruns on that project weren't as anticipated. So, and the cost to put those I-beams in once the roof goes in would be considerably more. So we thought we'd use some of those contingency funds to put the I-beams in. Knowing that we could afford to put the whole project in, but I think it would cut the contingency part of that fund too close, that if we ran into some other cost problems, it would create a money flow problem. But I think both Public Works and Finance agree that if funds are available towards the end of that contract era, that we should get that crane in. With that, I would move to approve the change order to the contract providing for the installation of the fixed beams for the overhead hoist at a cost of $31,120, and also acknowledge the improvement of the additional work as listed undertaken by the contractor totaling of $91,480.
I'll second.
Been a motion, a second. Any discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Dessner Brandt? Yes. Alderman Henriette?
yes,
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stedman?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.3, or 7.4, consider a 3-year IT services contract extension with BKS through 2021.
Mr. Mayor, this came before Finance, and BKS's monthly fees are going to increase approximately $1,700 a year. Kelly was at our, finance director was at our finance meeting and explained to us that we have some changes pending from our software provider that's going to provide us savings of about $4,300 in 2019 and about $4,000 in 2020, which will cover that increase. Now, BKS is our current IT provider. And I would move to approve the 3-year renewal for BKS contract for IT services, and to also endorse commencing the RFP process for 2021 for IT services rendered in 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Jim?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. The one thing, reading through the notes here, there's a couple of things that I was glad to see, that there is a 90-day notice for termination from either party. But the more important one to me is that our staff will be going out for RFPs at the end of this contract. So I think we need to do that from time to time with any of our vendors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. In fact, we talked about that in finance as well because of the increase in price. But there's a small line, if you go out for bids too often,
Right.
you end up being that person that's just looking for the low bid all the time and get poor quality of service. So we did talk about that in quite a bit of detail.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, may I have a roll call?
Alderman Henriette?
Yes?
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt? Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.5, consider award of contracted mowing and border removal of unsightly debris to BLG Services, Burlington, Wisconsin.
BLG was our only bidder for this services, and we know that the city uses private contractors for debris removal and to mow properties that don't comply. And the city collects more in revenue than they charge us for services. Their charge for services is the same as it's always been, and I would move to approve the 2019 award for both contracting mowing services and orders for removal of unsightly debris to BLG Services out of Burlington, Wisconsin, pursuant to their written quote dated April 11th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion, a second. Any other discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt? Yes. Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Item 7.6, consider award of contract to Oldling Construction, Delavan, Wisconsin, for the raising of the single-family house and detached garage at 220 Phoenix Street at a cost not to exceed $13,875.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This also came through finance, and this is the property at 220 Phoenix Street. And utilities have been disconnected, asbestos removed, so it's ready to go. The home is unfit. We had 4 bids on it. Oldling was the lowest of the 4. The total amount of cost of the demolition work and the previous asbestos abatement work would be paid out of the community betterment capital account and are potentially recoverable as special charge to be included on the respective property tax bill in the future. So this has been on the docket to get done. So at this point, I'd move to approve the award of contract to Oldling Construction of Delavan, Wisconsin for the raising of the single-family house and detached garage at 220 Phoenix Street at a cost not to exceed $13,875, and to assign these raising costs as special charge against the property.
Second.
Been a motion, a second. Any discussion? If not, may I have a roll call?
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt? Yes. Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.7, consider rejection of all bids for the raising of the city-owned house and garage at 116 South Fifth Street as non-restricted responsive.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this came before finance. Second time isn't always the charm. The bids came in rather high again, so we want to list them as non-responsive. I would like to mention, though, that the Delavan Fire Department is currently looking to perform a training activity in this building, which could largely reduce the material quantity needed to be landfilled. Additionally, with this approach, it is felt the remaining demolition disposal work can be handled in-house. Under this option, the only direct cost to the city will be the landfill disposal fees and the cost for removal of all roofing materials prior to the burn. Again, this is the property that was purchased for the future Aaron Library extension. So with that, I would like to move to reject all bids for the raising of the city-owned structure at 116 South 5th Street as non-responsive.
Second that motion?
Been motion and second, any discussion? I guess I don't understand why it's so much higher for that house. Even
Yeah.
with the taking out of stuff already.
All the materials that came out of that.
Yeah.
As Alderman Stevens said, second time wasn't lucky. The bids are much higher than we anticipated, both times.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to figure out, do we anticipate too low of a price, and that's the going rate for something that's a two-story like that?
I don't know if the fire department's happy.
Well, if they're happy, then I'm happy. So, okay, that's the only thing I had to ask. All right, so there's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we have a roll call.
Alderman Stevens?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt? Yes. Alderman Henriette?
Yes,
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7A, consider MOU with Baxter and Woodman for well number 6 rehabilitation project in amount not to exceed $17,400.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Before I start, I just want to mention this came through Public Works, which also includes water and sewer, which is incorporated with Public Works. I should have mentioned that in my report. So we do take up issues regarding water and sewer, and this happened to be one of them this time at our Public Works meeting. This project, this is well number 6. The MOU is for well number 6 rehabilitation project, which was included in our 2019 budget as a separate water utility maintenance project. The not-to-exceed fee provided for the MOU is $17,400. The pump is currently out of service, so as such, we need to move forward as soon as possible with this work so that we can get that back in service during our peak season. The 2019 budget included $100,000 for this project to cover the cost of engineering fees and the purchase and installation of the pump and related well rehabilitation. Based on more recent estimates, it's anticipated this project will exceed the amount budgeted. So in the meantime, as we're looking at this with our MOU, staff will be working with the engineer to determine options to reduce the cost. We'll also be reviewing the budget to identify possible sources to cover any overage. Just have to keep in mind that ultimately it may be necessary to amend the budget on this project because it is out of service and we need to get it going. So with that, I would move to approve the design and construction administration MOU with Baxter and Woodman for well number 6 rehabilitation project for an amount not to exceed $17,400.
second.
Been a motion and second. Any discussion? If not, we have a roll call.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stevens?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt? Yes. Alderman Henriette?
Yes,
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.9, consider MOU with Baxter and Woodman for Worsley Booster Station Upgrade Project in an amount not to exceed $7,500.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As it mentioned, this is the Woolsey Booster Station Upgrade Project. It was not included in 2019 budget, but it is estimated by Baxter Woodman to the total cost to be $78,500. The MOU is for not to exceed 7,500. The reason this came up is when the fire department did the flow test at the new Chinook Industry, it showed that there was a marginal flow, and so this will help us stay at that margin or a little bit higher. Along with that, we probably will be coming through with Public Works in the future, near future, discussing the loop and where we might have to go with that, because that would be a part of this to provide the flow that's going to be necessary out in that industrial park. But at this time, that's not in this. Right now, we're just looking to upgrade this so that we can maintain that marginal flow and exceed it a little bit. So with that, I would move to approve the Design and Construction Administration MOU from Baxter and Woodman for the Woolsey Booster Station project for an amount not to exceed 7,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion, a second. Any other discussion? If not, we have a roll call.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Strader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 710, consider resolution designating certain items as surplus property and authorizing their sale or disposal.
Mr. Mayor, you know from time to time that items that the city either has outused they have outlived their use. We designate as surplus property, so I would move to approve the resolution R-783 regarding surplus property.
Is there a
Second.
second? There is a second. Any discussion?
Is there anything good?
I don't know. Any cars for sale or houses for sale?
We got some fire hose for sale.
Firewood?
Yeah, we got fire hose for sale.
Fire hose?
Fire hose.
Fire hose. Bleachers. We already spoken for, unless you want to go to bidding war for it.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Strader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 711, approval of bills, warrant 19-04.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve warrant 19-04, which is approved by the Finance Committee, which meets the second Tuesday of every month, in case you want to come and visit.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those, roll call, please.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz?
Yes.
Alderman Strader?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 8.1, consider approval of the temporary Class B retailer's license for the Delavan Gardens Foundation Incorporated.
Mr. Mayor, I would go ahead and make said motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Item 8.2, consider approval of the temporary Class B retailer's license for Delavan Youth Basketball for TNT Ace Hardware's Explosive Celebration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3, consider changes to the composition of the Delavan Downtown Project Management Team.
Mr. Mayor, I would go ahead and make a motion to approve the proposed Delavan Downtown Project Management Team composition changes and term limits as outlined.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Just so that the general public knows what we're changing up here. Currently, the commission board is made up of 9 people. The changes would increase it to 11 and allow for 2 citizens who are interested in historic preservation and events as it relates to the downtown can let the mayor, the city administrator, or anyone on the city council know of your interests. So hopefully those 2 appointments are easier to fill than some of our other boards and commissions. So That's the major change, and it also allows for an alternate to some of the other members in the event that one of, for example, the chamber director can't make it, then an alternate could vote in that individual's absence. So, just to give a little more background.
There's been a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.1, consider appointment to the library board to fill the remainder of the term ending in June of 2020, it's partial, is Kelly Dennis. We need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.2, consider appointment to the Delaware Golf Commission, a term ending in April of 2022, is Tim Tully.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.3, scheduled date for board review, meet to adjourn within 45-day period through June 11, 2019. Do you care to elaborate?
Board of Review will really be June 27th, but you have to meet within 45 days of the last Monday in April. So we will meet and adjourn, and that date works because you already have a special meeting.
We do? Okay. All right. So there is a motion.
I just wanted to mention I will be going that day out of town, so just hope that nobody else is.
It's also when the auditors are presenting it.
What can I say? All right. Do we have a motion yet?
You don't need a motion for that. That's
Oh, you
just
don't?
me. No.
Okay. All right, then, information only. All right. Item 10, public comments. Citizens may address the chair of this meeting. Please limit your comments to about 2 minutes about anything you want to talk about. Jack?
Jack Bay again. Pay attention, Mr. Mayor. The buck stops at your desk on this one. I hold in my hand an overdue water bill from a tenant that has moved out last December. And it's a dunning letter for amount still owed. I make it a point to come down to the Water and Sewer Commission to get a final bill every time tenants move out. Now, I don't know what kind of creative mathematics are going on in the Water and Sewer Department, but this is the second time it's happened to us. And I'm really concerned that they're not doing their job down there. Now, the state of Wisconsin is very adamant about returning security deposits after 21 days. That means the landlord has got 21 days to make any reimbursement to a renter and to deduct anything that is owed. When I come into the Water and Sewer Commission and ask them for a final bill, and they guarantee me that it's a final bill, I don't expect this kind of stuff. So you're in charge of all the city entities that you control. So maybe you need to find out what's going on in the Water and Sewer Department. I'll tell you now, right now, that if I get another one of these, I don't care when the end of the world comes, it's still not going to be paid by me. This is the last one I'm going to pay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, Lou?
Lou Oder, 133 South 8th Street, Delavan. After last month's meeting, I drove down to the 5th Street, 6th Street, 7th Street, Geneva Street area to look the sidewalk situation over. I am convinced that nobody in this room is gonna live long enough to see that project done satisfactory.
Thank you. Anyone else? John?
And then the school superintendent finished the job. Uh, Oh, yes, we have a thing here. It would be, well, number 11 of the group of things we're working on at the moment called Suggested Future Agenda Items. Nobody up here ever bothers, maybe it's a long day by the time you get to number 11, nobody up here ever bothers to suggest a future agenda item. Maybe it could be reworked so that the public could suggest future agenda items, which means once in a while when I would suggest something, it wouldn't be a flashpoint, but possibly the beginning of something constructive. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll take that under advisement.
I will remind you again.
I know. That's not a bad idea, but we'll leave it there. Yes.
Thinking about Memorial Day, which is coming up, being a Legion member and a veteran, yeah. When I was just a kid of, say, 6, 7, or 8 years old in Delavan schools, every Memorial Day you were there and you got a little flag, and if you didn't show up, you skipped school. I assume you guys will all be there on Memorial Day. And then I got one other one. These things all go with the agenda. The other one is, back in the 40s and 50s, they had a cure for Delavan Lake called copper sulfate. Need I say more?
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, then we'll close the public comments. Item 11, suggested future agenda items. Just for record, John, when you weren't here, we had suggested future agenda items mentioned. All right. Item 12, recess to closed session pursuant Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, Parent 1, Parent G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved regarding status report on probable pending litigation, regards to Walmart assessment challenge and eminent domain proceedings. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. May I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Strader?
Yes.
Alderman Deschner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stepnitz?
Yes. Motion passes. We'll take a 5-minute or so recess